and welcome to another episode of Talking to Myself. I'm your host, Jake Letizia, and this is the podcast where I look into a camera and I talk to myself. How's it going? How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing great. I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty sick. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm good, man. I'm good. It's weird. I feel so good that it feels strange. I feel better than I felt in a very long time, and I don't know. It feels almost unearned, but I don't think that's true. I think I just feel weird because I've felt so shitty and so bad and so fucking lost for such a long period of time that now finally that things are looking up and things are better, it just feels surreal to me. Even though the things that are looking up and are better aren't that like glorious of changes in the grand scheme of life, but they're big enough where I'm like, okay, I was feeling so bad and so low that little simple things have made me go, wow, dude, I have the best life ever. You know? I was struggling to find work. I was doing really poorly finding work, having a hard time finding it. Didn't have a lot of money at all in my bank account. Still don't have that much money, but now I have work. I have consistent, steady work enough where I'm comfortable moving back into the city. And so I did. I just fucking moved back into the city. And I'm not recording there. I probably won't record. I might record podcasts with guests there, but I'm going to still do the solo thing here in this little studio that I'm doing it in because I like the setup here, and now that I don't live in this fucking room, now that I don't live in the same room that I record in, it'll be nice to have like a separate space to go to rant for a fucking hour. I can live where I live, and I can rant and talk shit and film weird stuff in this little room. But it feels good. It feels good to have a roommate and live not in my hometown. It feels good, man. I was living back home for 2 years, dude. 2 years of hell. You guys might have known that or seen that or understood that to be the case. I'm not sure. But I had to leave the city because I did not manage my money well, and I had to fucking live back where I grew up for 2 years, and it was fucked. And I did not like it. Mentally, I was in a bad place. My brain was in a place of an all-time, hey man, you gotta end this. My brain was in a constant state of, listen, man, if you can't find some way back to the city, if you can't find some way back to living where you actually want to be, you gotta take a long nap, dude. You gotta find a high window and fall out of it. But yeah, I was just in such a bad place that it seemed insurmountable to fucking move into an apartment again. So the fact that I was able to move into an apartment again and feel good and feel fine is great. It's really great. I feel great, man. Yeah. So I'm feeling good. I'm back in the city. I'm living right near where my first apartment was when I first moved to the city 8 years ago now, because I lived there 6 years. I was back in my hometown for 2 years, so now I'm back again, dude. So it's been 8 years since I moved into that first fucking apartment with my brother and his girlfriend. We all moved in together. His girlfriend, now fiance. It's fucking weird, man. I'm getting old enough where things, you start to notice dramatic changes. You start to notice growth. You start to notice, something as simple as like, oh, I moved into that apartment 8 years ago. You think about that. I haven't thought about that in a long time. I always thought about that as, oh, that was my first New York City apartment. But the other day I realized it to be, 8 years ago that was my first New York City apartment. I lived 8 years since that apartment. Which is it probably doesn't sound that interesting or that fucking that clever of a thought, because it's not. It's a very mundane, blunt thought, but I don't know. It's one of the, there's a profundity to it, I guess, just because of the simple fact that, like, is profundity a word, right? Profound, the version of profound? I don't fucking know. Anyway, I'm looking at a statue of Jesus that's on the dresser in this room. I didn't even know that it was there. I totally forgot that I had a statue of fucking little baby Jesus. Little baby, old man, adult Jesus. But it's just a thought that you can't have until you've lived at least 28 years on this earth. Well, I've lived 27, about to be 28, but what are you going to do? But yeah, I don't know. You just start thinking about, because there was when I was like 21 and 22, motherfuckers near me would try and be like, "Man, we're getting old. Do you realize that college was fucking?" When I was like 23, people were like, do you realize that college was 5 years ago or 4? No, it wasn't. Do you realize that college was a year ago when you're 23? They would say shit like that. Do you realize high school was 5 years ago? Do you realize high school is 5 years ago? We're getting old, man. And I would always be that asshole who was like, hey, if high school was 5 years ago, we're not fucking old, dude. Are you out of your mind saying that? Don't let a single boomer hear you say that. They'll slit our fucking throat. Shut up. Someone would be like, dude, remember fucking SpongeBob was a cartoon when we were kids. We're now 24. We're old, man. Shut up, dude. If you're in your early 20s and you say you're old, you're allowed to be killed. That's the law. That's an unwritten law, but it's true under the law. If you murder somebody who says they're young, if they're 25 years or younger, if that person says, "Hey man, I'm old." I said it reversed, didn't I? I said if they say they're young. If they say they're young, you go, hell yeah, dude, you're young. Fucking stay as young as you can for as long as you can. If somebody 25 years or younger say, I'm old, man, can you believe how old we are? Anybody above their age gets to slaughter them immediately. Immediately. Especially if you're over the age of 50, you get to murder a 22-year-old who says he's old because SpongeBob is however many years old. Fuck you, dude. If somebody says the anniversary of Ren and Stimpy and they're 22 years old and they say, damn, dude, Ren and Stimpy's been around this long, I'm old, you shoot them in the head. That's what goes on, dude. You fucking kill them. You go bite the curb and you stomp that child out. You can curb stomp a kid who says he's old at 18. You can. It's legally fine. Ask any lawman. Ask any police officer. They'll tell you, yeah, dude, that checks out. You can break the legs and arms and murder a 15-year-old who thinks he's old. You can do that. As long as he says the sentence, I'm old, man, you get to fucking buy a sword and impale him. Anyway, so yeah, it's just interesting. I don't know. And then also that both my brothers got engaged, but I don't really think about the profundity of it, if I'm going to use that fucking word again. I sound like such a cunt saying profundity, such a pretentious fuckface. But the magnitude of that. Oh shit. 8 years ago, I lived with them, brother and girlfriend, or my brother and his girlfriend, and now they're engaged. And also, you think about that. They've been together 8 years. They've been together since, I think, a year or two before they got that apartment. I think a year before they got that apartment together, they met. And then it's been 8 years since then. So fucking 9 years. I think I have that math right. If I don't, I'm fucking up. But that's crazy. Another year, they're going to be a decade long together. I've never had a relationship that long. That's insane. Kudos to them. It's fucking psychotic in a good way. Sometimes you want sometimes psychosis is good. And if it leads you into a 10-year relationship that you're happy in, thank God for you being a psychopath. But it also started making me think, like, 8 years ago, what was I like 8 years ago? Even less than 8 years ago, fucking 7 years ago? Because I lived in that first New York City apartment 1 year or 2 years, right? 2 years. And then I lived in another apartment for a couple months, and then I lived in a third apartment for 3 years, right? Something like that. 3 years and change. I don't know the exact math on it, but all I know is fucking not even 8 years ago, 6 years ago, I was afraid to go in a bar by myself. Well, 8 years ago, I remember walking with a friend. I remember a friend visited me from college because I was in college at the time. That's when I first moved to the city. I was like a junior in college, and I only ever lived on campus for a week. I only ever dormed for a week. I went to fucking Sarah Lawrence, and I had a roommate he was a chill guy. I had 2 roommates. One of them had a single. The situation for the dorms at Sarah Lawrence was some of them were like, if you were in this building called Hill House, it was like an old apartment building. So the dorms were set up like apartments. So they were set up like apartments, but then they would force 2 people into one room. It was very fucking stupid. If it's set up like apartments and there's 3 bedrooms or 2 bedrooms in the apartment, just give the kids each a single fucking bedroom. I don't understand that. Why do you force kids? That was a rule too when you first went to college, was you can't get a single until you're at least a sophomore. Hey, what? Let kids live alone. People wonder why nefarious, weird shit goes on at college all the time. Maybe because you don't let kids have their fucking privacy. Okay? You're 18 years old and you're like, hey, not only are you leaving home right now, but you have to live in the same room with someone else. In some cases, you have to sleep in a bunk bed in the same room as 1 or 2 other people. What the fuck are you talking about, bro? Is this boot camp, dude? No. It's a fucking liberal arts college. Let me sleep in my own fucking room. Let me have my own fucking space, dude. We're 18. You know fucking 18-year-olds are jerking off. Give them their own space to do it in. Right? You know kids are going to college to have sex and jerk off. Give them their private places to do it. Don't shove them in a room with another fucking dude who they don't know. Anyway, I was uncomfortable. I was like, I don't want to be here. I was just spending a lot of time in my dorm room, and the few times that I went out were because my roommate was like, hey, I'm going to go do these things. And I was like, all right. And I saw myself becoming his friend just because he was my roommate, and I wasn't really socializing with anyone else. So then I just became like his accessory in a way that made me uncomfortable. And then he had some girl he started dating immediately, and he brought her over one night, so I went to the library, which I didn't need to do, but I was like, hey, if you bring a girl back to our room, again, fucking stupid. Give us all our own room so that when I'm 18 years old and some dude I don't know, a complete stranger, decides to date some other lady who we don't know who the fuck she is, the first week of college, I don't have to leave to the library, okay? I can just stay in my room. How about you give us all our own separate rooms so I, who is having a bad time, don't have to then leave my fucking room. Anyway, so I left my room and I was at the library and I was just like, this sucks, dude. This sucks. And also it was like fucking $6,000. It was like $10,000. It was some insane amount of money to be dorming. And I was like, listen, I live 30 minutes from this school. I have a car. I'm just going to fucking drive. And I opted out of dorming after the second week. I moved out my second week. And my roommate was like, oh, whoa, really, man? Both my roommates were like, whoa, that's like they were they were like, that's crazy. But also the one who I was living in the same room as, he was kind of like, this is dope. I'm going to fucking just make this my own room, like you should do. And I'm thankful. I'm happy that I left so that he could live in that fucking single alone bedroom for as long as he possibly could. So I went back home to commute. And he got to live in that apartment as his own fucking room. It was a 2-bedroom apartment with only 2 people in it, as it should logically fucking be, for about a month or 2. And then campus security showed up and were like, and he fucking moved the beds around, so because it used to be like a bunk bed or something, or 2 bunk beds or some stupid shit. And he like moved it around so he had one big bed instead of a single. He had a fucking big queen. He was living the high life, dude. I'm happy for him. I'm glad I could have fucking provided that experience for him. He was dating that girl. He's probably fucking on a 2 twin beds combined to a queen. He was fucking some new girl he just met, young love, on a makeshift queen size mattress in a fucking 2-bedroom apartment that is a dorm. Dude, he was living the high life, courtesy of me leaving prematurely. I'm happy for him. But then campus security came and ruined everything. They were like, oh, you didn't report that your fucking roommate was gone. And he was like, why should I report that? Because why should he report that? He shouldn't have. You should have known that I left when I said, hey, I'm leaving. I'm not paying for room and board anymore. Take that out of the fucking bill. That's when you should have went to the room and been like, oh, let's fill it with somebody. But you didn't, because you're a poorly run fucking stupid school. But that's besides the point. Anyway. But yeah, so my junior year, or my freshman year, I lived off camp. I lived with my parents and commuted. And then my sophomore year, I was in an apartment off campus, but like pretty much on campus, like right next to the campus, which is funny. That's the most I ever missed class. The most I ever missed class was when I lived the closest to the fucking place. I don't know why that is. I think when something is in such close proximity to me, you have too long to decide whether or not you want to go, to the point where it's like you're 10 minutes late and you're just like, I'm just not going to fucking go. But when you live in the city, or you live in my hometown and it's 30 minutes away, there's a drive, there's a travel that you have to make, that you have to decide to go on to try and make it there on time, if that makes any sense. And that made me actually go. I may be the only person where that's the case, where the closer I am to a thing, if I got a job right next to my work, I would not show up at work. I don't know why that is. Because I push it too far to the limit. I push it so far to the limit because I'm so close that I end up pushing it to the limit where I'm like, how many days can I just miss? Which doesn't logically make any sense, because there's no excuse. If you live closest to the place, there's no excuse for not showing up, because you can walk 5 feet and get into the building. But with trains and a further distance, you have more of an excuse, and yet I was on time when I was the furthest away. Doesn't make any sense. But anyway, I had an off-campus apartment, and then after that, junior year, I moved in. My brother wanted to move to the city. It was going to be his first apartment out of college, and he was dating his now fiance at the time, and they wanted to move, and she was in school in the city, and they wanted to move into an apartment, and I also did, so we all moved in together. And I remember a friend of mine from college visited me. Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about. That's that's where I started before I went on this huge tangent. And I remember he visited me, and we went on my roof, and I think we smoked a little weed. He definitely smoked some weed. I don't do that often. It has a bad effect on me. But he smoked some of it, and I think maybe I did with him. I don't know. Anyway, but then we were like, oh, let's go to a bar. And we walked down fucking like 2nd Avenue or something. We walked down some weird avenue. And just didn't go to a bar. There were a couple like very boomerish bars. There were bars with like very broy old crowds, which we didn't fit in. Me and him were two liberal arts boys who needed to be in like a fucking punk bar or a trendy, alty, shitty bar. We couldn't be going into a fucking bar where someone is wearing a cowboy hat. We couldn't be doing that. We can't be going into a bar where someone has a tattoo that says God, only God can judge me. We can't do that. We were fucking just turned 21, just allowed to be in a bar. He might have had a fake, I don't remember, but we were supremely fresh to the bar scene. We can't be going into a place where they do Jaeger bombs. We can't. So we nervously walked down this avenue, and every bar, he was like, oh, let's go in there. There was like 5 bars we passed, even though we went down like fucking 30 streets. And we're also going towards Grand Central. So the further we got towards Grand Central, the more it just became touristy, fucking towny, fucking shitty. You don't want to go there bars. And every single one, I was like, nah, that's not it. There's people my parents' age there. Nah, that's not it. There's townies. There's people who aren't from my hometown, but they seem like people from my hometown there, and I don't want to communicate with those kinds of people. No. And I could tell he was getting more and more pissed off, and I was just nervous and didn't want to go into any bar that made me uncomfortable. And then we walked so far that we ended up at Grand Central, and he was like, hey, man, I'm just going to go home. And I felt so stupid and so bad because I was like, damn, dude. He came to visit me, and the time I showed him was we walked down a whole avenue all the way to the train. Basically, he came to visit me, and I walked him to the train. That was our whole fucking hangout. And I could tell he was annoyed even though he didn't say it. He was just like, why didn't we just go to a fucking bar? Why didn't this kid know any bars? Because, dude, I was a year into living there. I had just turned 21, and I was nervous as shit. The only bar I knew of was fucking this bar, Fat Cat, which is like a jazz bar. Which I understand why that was the starting bar that I went to, because it's a weird bar where, like, if you're, I think if you're under 21, I think if you're over 18 but you're under 21, you can be at the bar until 10 or some weird rule like that, or till 9, and then after 9 it becomes a 21 years or older bar. I can understand why as a fresh 21-year-old I was like, oh, that's my bar, because it was close enough to before I was allowed to be there that I would know of the place. You know what I'm saying? I might have even went there when I was like 19 or 20. Anyway, that was like the only fucking place I knew. I remember I used to go with my friend. These are all things you fucking remember. I was a nervous kid, man. I was a nervous kid in my early 20s. I was fucking from 20 to 23. I was nervous as shit. I didn't even know how to fucking talk to strangers. I had human training wheels on. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. Me and my friend used to go to Fat Cat and we would play pool, and whoever would lose pool would have to get out of our comfort zone, would have to ask someone if they could buy them a drink. But I kind of was fucking my friend over because I'm better at pool than him, right? Like, if we played chess, he would annihilate me. And they had chess there. This was like a jazz bar, but it also had like games and shit. It had a ping pong table, it had pool, it had fucking the thing where you slide the disc in the sand. I don't know what it's called. And then you could play chess or checkers. Chess if you were an adult, checkers if you were fucking in the 18-year-old crowd. They forced you to play checkers if you were 18. They're like, dude, you're not old enough to play chess. You are not sophisticated or old enough to play chess. We really shouldn't even allow you in the bar. Here's some checkers. You stupid fuck. But yeah, so we would play pool, and whoever would win, the loser had to go over to somebody. The winner got to choose the person. Like, go to that girl and ask her if you could buy her a drink. And I won every time. And I watched my friend go over and talk to people who did not want to talk to him. And not because he wasn't charming or because he wasn't a good dude. It's because we were young and nervous and didn't understand how to talk to strangers. And also, asking someone if you could buy them a drink is the most childish, stupid, I've never spoken to another human being or tried to hit on a woman in my life move you can make. Don't buy people drinks. It's fucking so stupid. It's such a fucking... That's like what your dad tells you to do. If you like a girl, go buy her a drink. That's not what you do. I've never in my life bought someone a drink. Especially not off the bat. It's such a bad move to immediately go, hey, to go up to somebody and before you even talk to them, just go, can I buy you a drink? It doesn't sound that bad now that I'm critiquing it. It doesn't sound that bad. If you said it with some sort of charm, maybe it's okay. I don't fucking know. I've never done it. I don't know if it would work. I really don't know. A lot of it just comes down to, are you attractive? Does the person find you attractive? You can get away with a lot of things that other people would be like, oh, that's not charming. That's a stupid thing to say. But if the person finds you if the person is goo gagaing over your fucking face, if the person is oogling you or ogling or whatever the fucking phrase is, if somebody looks at you and goes, oh my God, he's cute, you can say a lot of things that sound dumb. But to that person, she's already thinking about you're cute, so it's done. Think about when you find someone attractive. They could come up to you and say fucking anything, and you'd be like, hey, can you please, what's your phone number? Right? I don't know. It's when you're on the cusp. It's when you're right in between. It's when the person's deciding whether or not they think you're cute, that's when it really matters, the specific things that you say. Right? There's some wiggle room if they think you're attractive. You still need to not be a fuckface. You still need to not be... There's like a slider. It's how attractive you are and how good of a talker you need to be. And the lower the attractability gets, the higher the fucking talking needs to be. So if you're in the dead center, if you're all right looking and an all right talker, that's okay. If you're very ugly and you're a fucking great talker, you're probably fine. If you're very hot and a shitty talker, you're probably great. One compensates for the other. That's just biologically, evolutionarily, that's how it goes. The timer went off. We're done with the first part. I'll see you guys in the next one. The next part. All right, I'm back. So, yeah. I don't even know what I was talking about a second ago. After I took a little break, I have no idea what the fuck I was talking about. The city. Oh, making my friend talk to women. Yeah, don't ask to buy a drink. Unless you're super attractive. If you're super attractive, you're super hot. If people swipe right on you and go, I really hope he matches with me because that guy is hot as fuck, then you can do it. If you're supermodel cute, then you can do it. For most people. Some people will still, you still got to be a good talker. Some people, no matter what, you got to have some sort of game. I might be one of those people where, I don't know. It might not be true. I guess it depends on. It's funny because people talk about, or they get mad at each other for being like holding too much of an emphasis on looks. Like people get mad at men sometimes. Not everybody does this, but I have seen women get mad at men specifically for placing too much of an emphasis on looks. Which, in my experience, I don't know. The thing that people say is women care less about looks than men do, but in my experience, it's always been equal. I just fucking sneezed very loud. I hope I did not destroy your goddamn ears. Anyway, it's just, in my experience, when I've talked to the women I know and the men I know, they all seem to have the same fucking desire for a very hot lady. And they all seem to have the same principles on attractiveness, where there are people I have met both men and women who are like, I have fucked people who are very attractive, and it was only because they're attractive. And they both are like, but when you date somebody, other things come into play. And so I always find it interesting when one group of people or the other get angry, or one gender or the other, whoever the fuck, get angry at the other one being like, you place too much of an emphasis on looks, because you're like, well, yeah, but you do too, dude. Like like a friend of mine will get mad being like, oh, men just want to fuck like these fucking basic attractive girls. And I'm like, yeah, but you were just texting a Chad on Tinder yesterday, dude. And I know that it's not texting, you were messaging him on Tinder, but you get my point. I've seen the people you swipe right on. I've seen the people you go on dates with. That's the real funny thing about online dating apps and all that shit. Is that what always is the case is the person, and I'm an example of this too. We all are. We're always the person who's fucking up our own dating life. 100%. We're always like, oh my God, why am I, the girl who's always like, oh my God, I keep fucking dating all these fuck boys. I keep going on dates with all these fuck boys. You're the one going on dates with them, dude. The other day I was talking about how a lot of the people or not a lot of the people, but people who I've seen have some degree of psychosis to them. They're a little bit nuts. The people I have dated in my life. And I don't say that maliciously. I believe that I'm nuts as well. And it bothers me because I've said that. I've talked about an ex of mine and I'm like, well, she's a little crazy, right? And then my friend, she was like, I was like, but I'm nuts too. She goes, you're not nuts. And I'm like, yes, I am, dude. Crazy knows crazy, and I don't mean that as an insult. I don't think women are crazy, but I definitely think the women I've dated are pretty nuts. But that's also because I'm purely psychotic. And also I mean that as, I don't know. People, there are certain words that people take as an insult or people see as negative that I don't see that way. I don't see crazy as negative. I would rather date someone who's a little fucking off. The number one thing, I mean, maybe not the number one thing, but I want to date someone who makes me laugh, who is very fucking cute based on my particulars, and who is a little weird. I want someone fucking strange as shit. And a lot of times strange is crazy. And everyone I've dated is not crazy, but everyone who's dated me has dated a crazy person for sure. I'm definitely a little nuts. But I don't even know what the fucking point I'm getting at is. We all our own fucking, we're the hindrance. We're the one fucking it up. Yeah. Oh, man. And then you'll meet people. It's fucking wild. It's so fucking wild. Oh, man. Listen, dude. I'm not talking in generalities at all, but I just find it funny because sometimes there will be people who will complain about. I have had female friends of mine who are not the most attractive people. No disrespect to them. They're not the most attractive people, but they will complain about how men only give a fuck about looks, and then I'll go, oh, who have you been going on dates with? And they'll show me their Tinder profiles, and I'm like, you're bad. Like, you... I don't say this to them, but in my head I go, that you're doing the thing that you're mad at men for, right? You're going out with some hotties, dude. You're going out with some very attractive men, and the reason you are is because you think they're attractive, dude. That's always the thing, man. People complain about the thing that they are all the time. I complain about a little bit of, psychoticness in people I've dated. And that's because I'm a little psychotic. You always fucking get annoyed at or complain about the thing that you are a little bit. Um, which is probably not one to one always the case, but it's the case enough where I can make that generalization for this moment. It's the case enough where I can make that sweeping generalization, at least for this split second right now on the podcast. It's funny though. I think people in general, they want to try and have sex with someone beautiful and thoughtless. At least once. I think everybody has a desire towards that. I think women love beautiful dummies just as much as men do. At least in my experience, the people I've been friends with, that's the case. People like beautiful dummies, man. Everybody does. You can't deny a beautiful dummy. At least when you're younger. I don't know. Maybe it's changing as I get older. Now I just can't. I don't know. I just get annoyed. I just get annoyed. Like when people give you like a shit test, they call it a shit test. Or when women neg you, dude. I get into conversations where straight up a guy will go, yeah, a woman will go. I was talking to a female friend of mine the other day. A female friend. I don't know why I'm stressing that so hard. But she was saying how when men do the game, you know that book, The Game, where they say that you should neg women, you should insult them, like put them down to flirt with them. She was saying how fucking fucked up that is and how it never works and how men shouldn't do that. And then in the same breath, she was saying how she does that to men, though, and it works if you do it to men. I think I've talked about this on the podcast before. I probably have. I'm a fucking repetitive, stupid cunt. But guess what, dude? It doesn't work. Maybe when I was younger, but I don't know. I don't know, man. If someone negs me, I just am annoyed. I'm just like, what? Like if you are talking to somebody, you're like, oh, hey, my name's Jake. They're like, oh, is that your name? I go, fuck. I got to get the fuck away from this person immediately. I don't know. I used to love dates, man. I used to be like, oh, dude, I have a date tonight. Yes, I got a fucking date. I would get a rush when I got someone's number. Oh, shit. And then I would text them. And I'd be like, oh, my God, you want to go on a date? And she would say yes. I'm like, oh, my God. And now when I get someone's number, I go, fuck, I guess I got to ask him out. When we set up a date, I'm like, shit, all right, yeah, I'll meet you there. Yeah, I'll meet you there. Okay. It's a bummer, you know? But I guess that's just life in general. As you get older, you get used to experiences. You've done that thing so many times where of course it's irritating. Anything you love becomes awful through repetition. Right? I'm sure there's some people who started listening to this podcast and stopped because they liked it initially, but then they were like, this guy says the same shit over and over again. Fuck this. Everything you love is destroyed through repetition. Just is. But then, I guess the perk of it is that it's easier to realize when something is actually good. It's easier to realize when you actually are having a connection with somebody because you're both so fucking jaded at a certain age that you understand how rare it is to actually fucking hit it off with somebody on a date. So when you do hit it off with somebody on a date, you're like, hell yeah, dude. And it hopefully goes to somewhere good. Anyway. I don't know how I ended up just talking about dating again. That's what this podcast becomes. It becomes a fucking dating podcast every single time. I'm just talking about that because now that I'm back in the city, bro, I've been on the apps again, and I don't know, they've been irritating the fuck out of me. So I've just been thinking about all these things. You know? I don't know. I just would like a fucking relationship. I just would. I don't know. Maybe that's me getting older. I won't say old. I think it's disrespectful to say you're old until you're like at least 50. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful to those older than you because all of them are thinking, bro, you're fucking young. I wish I was your age. If you're at an age that other people can wish that they were at your age, right? But I guess you're always at an age like that. No, I don't know. Is that true? If you're 80, do you go, I wish I was 70? I guess you always think that. You always wish you were the 10 years. No, that's not true. Do I wish I was 18 though? That's what I'm wondering. At what age do you not wish you're the younger age? I don't wish I was 18. I really don't. I have no desire to be 18 again. Maybe when I'm 32, I would. No, because I'm talking about my early 20s now. I'm glad I got through them. I'm glad I learned how to talk to a stranger in a bar. I'm glad I learned how to do that. I used to be afraid to go to a bar alone. I remember the fucking night. I found a bar that I really fucking liked, and I went there with somebody else, and then I wanted to go there again, but I didn't have anyone to go with. It was a fucking weeknight, and I was like, I'm just going to go to the bar. And I went, and I was nervous as shit, and I remember walking to the bar thinking like, go home, don't go there. It's going to be weird. It's going to be so weird for you to sit alone at a bar. You're fucking weird. Don't do it. And I turned around a couple times. I turned around 2 or 3 times, unsure if I should go to this fucking bar alone. What a fucking pathetic, scaredy cat cunt I was. And I eventually got to the bar. I sat down and I fucking got a Guinness and I didn't talk to anybody. I just sat there. I sat in the middle of the bar. I sat in a weird fucking spot to be alone at. Because I wasn't thinking about it. I just got into the bar. I got my first seat I could, and I had a drink. And I remember the bar back was talking to some other guy who was alone there. And they were talking about shit that I knew about that I wanted to talk about. They were talking about like Spider-Man or fucking... I know I insulted Spider-Man a couple podcasts ago and it annoyed people, but I like Spider-Man, okay? I shit on the Marvel movies a little bit. It's all good, bro. People got annoyed that I shit on Marvel. Bunch of little kiddos got mad. Listen, dude, I don't think it's that funny. It's all good. Dude, that's funny. When I talked about Marvel, people, I mean, what, didn't go fucking viral or anything, but, you know, I got a couple comments and it was like people... people annoyed. It was funny because even when I was talking about it, I was trying to be... pragmatic. I was like, they're not that funny. I wasn't even saying they're not funny, and people still were like, dude, who made you in charge of what's funny? It's like, nobody, dude. What do you mean? The same way you think it's funny, I don't. What are you talking about? Also, it bummed me out that so many young kids are like standing Marvel. What are you doing, bro? When I was in fucking high school, the popular thing, you were like, fuck that shit. When you were in middle school, everyone liked Disney Channel, you would watch it, but publicly you would be like, fuck that shit. Do you know what I'm saying? You would love Even Stevens and you would say, I love Even Stevens, but then Lizzie McGuire would be on and you would watch it, but then you'd be like, yo, fuck Lizzie McGuire. I'm not a girl. Right? Is no one doing that anymore? Fuck Spider-Man. I'm not a kid. No? You just stan it? I don't know. Anyway, what the fuck was I talking about? I was at the bar alone. He was talking about Spider-Man comics, some shit. The bar back was talking about movies, talking about comics, and I was like, damn, dude, I know. And the guy he was talking to, who was who was alone there, didn't know what the fuck he was talking about, but they were still talking, and I was like, dude, I could be doing better in this conversation, bro. I could be doing better than this fucking... This guy doesn't even fucking know the subject of conversation. And I remember the barback seemed like a cool dude. But I was just awkward as fuck, and I was nervous as fuck, and I was like, damn, dude, I should be a part of the conversation. I should not be so weird. What the fuck am I doing? But also I realized over the years as I became... And then what happened was I think I had 3 or 4 beers, and then I left. And I closed out. And after that, I was like, I can go to this bar alone. I started going alone on Fridays and shit. And then the bartender there would be like, why are you here alone on a Friday? And I was like, I don't know, because I like the bar. And then she's like, and then she smiled and she ended up liking me. And now I'm friends with that lady. And then I was a regular at that bar. It's closed right now, but I think it's reopening. But anyway, you know, I remember when I was afraid to be in there. Now it's like, then I went so many times that it became regular, it became mundane, and now I'm comfortable with it. And I would not want to go back to that experience of being nervous to go to a bar alone. What a fucking terrifying, shitty feeling to have. You know, that's not a memory I'm fond of. It's a memory I'm fond of in the rear view, but it's not a memory I want to relive by becoming 18 years old again. Okay, I don't want to have another first relationship where I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't want to do that. But that's funny, man. It's also funny just to think about that. Friends of mine, I have another person who I'm like very close friends with. And I remember meeting him and thinking like, oh, I want to be friends with that guy. I like that guy a lot. And now we're like best friends. And I don't know. It's just you're not as conscious of those things in the moment. But then later you're like, oh shit, I guess that was a plan. Or I guess there was part of me that was like actively trying to make that happen. That barback who I thought was cool. I consider him a friend now at this point. I ended up, when I was becoming a regular, I ended up talking to him a lot. We fucking, and that's interesting too. You understand that you have some a little bit of intuition. I don't know. I have a lot of doubt in any sort of intuition that I think I have. But then in retrospect, you're like, well, I did have a good read on that. I did understand that. When I heard him talking about that shit with that guy, I was like, oh, me and this guy would get along. And then now time has proven that to be right. And also another thing that that is funny is that when I went to the bar alone, I was nervous as shit and I was like angry at myself for being so nervous. But then I think back to it and I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. Why was I like 22 years old going to a bar alone, or 23 or whatever the fuck? What? That's so young. Like, why? Like, that is weird. It's strange that I went to a bar alone for fucking like 3 years. Like on the weekends, I would, instead of asking people to hang out, I would just go to this place alone. Because I'd rather be alone with those people than fucking with somebody I knew who irritated me. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't want to relive that shit. I'm glad. I'd rather be my age now, comfortable going to a bar alone. Comfortable being able to talk to fucking people I don't know, or comfortable not comfortable. I'm happy with. I'm happy that I've reached the point where a stranger talking to me, does not need to be me talking to them. That was a problem for a while. Is that if someone started talking to me, I would have to talk to them. But now I'm getting better at being like, oh yeah, and then looking away and not talking anymore. Avoiding conversations with people I don't want to have a conversation with. I haven't been to a house party in a while. I wonder if I still get nervous at those. Last one I was at was awful. I fucking did not have a good time. That might be the only thing that I'm still like, makes me severely uncomfortable at a house party. But I've talked about that before in the podcast. Anyway, yeah, back in the city, man. It's fucking dope. I'm starting to, realize the things I missed. I miss the fucking weirdness. All the shit that Meadows' roommate was afraid of in the city is stuff that I like. Not that, I mean, some of the shit she was afraid of was like, she would see homeless people and she'd be like, oh my God, that's awful. Which she's right. It is awful. And that's not the shit I like to see. But just like I like weird shit, man. I don't know. It makes you feel connected with human people. I don't know. There's something that I like about it. I went for a walk and this dude, this dude on the Lower East Side, he looks straight at me and he goes, "Excuse me, sir, can you help me? I'm legally blind." And he has a cane with him, right? But he's not using it like a blind person uses a cane to feel out things. He just has a cane with him. And not only that, but he's looking right at me with full pupil eyes. He's looking straight at me with clearly working eyes going, "Excuse me, sir, can you help me? I'm legally blind." And he looks at me with clear working eyes, and I look back at him, and we both look at each other and understand like, "Hey man, I know this is not real." And he looks at me knowing that I know it's not real. And then I just keep walking, and he goes, "You fucking asshole." How do I become the asshole in this situation? This guy is pretending to be blind, and somehow I'm the fuckface. But I don't know. That made me laugh for like 10 minutes. I laughed out loud as I walked away. Because I don't know. I like that. Yeah, I don't know. There's another guy who fucking, as I was walking, I don't know. There's people who are not doing hot who, I don't know. Sometimes when you see people, you're like, I'm not that far away. I'm just fortunate enough to have like a family who likes me, who like won't let me get to that point. Do you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you see a homeless person, you see somebody doing really bad, and you're like, I only didn't get to that point because I have people in my life who love me enough to make sure that won't happen. You know? I don't know. I feel like people aren't aware of the safety nets they have. Or the people around them who will act as a safety net whether you like it or not. Not everybody who ends up in a bad spot is there solely on like because of themselves. It's because of the circumstance. Anyway, there was this guy on the street who was yelling at me, just yelling because I think he was on some sort of drug, but he was like, "I'll fucking kill you, motherfucker," as I walked by him. He's like, "I'll fucking kill you. I'll break your fucking neck. You hear me, boy? I'll break your fucking neck." And I was like, oh, shit. But I kept walking. I don't know. It's one of those things where you live in the city long enough where you're like, I mean, that's a normal thing. Like it doesn't affect you that much. But I guess coming back to New York, I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah, I guess the shit like that is strange to people. Like if I just moved there for the first time, I don't know. I wonder if that would have been I wonder if it would have been, that would have had an effect on me instead of me just being like, "Hey man, I hope you're doing better." But that's the thing is he said that, right? And people will be like, that guy's fucking wild, or that guy, oh, I'm scared of that guy. But at the same time, like I understand that guy. Like him screaming, "I'm going to break your fucking neck. You hear me, boy?" Like that's not far off from thoughts I've had in my brain. Right? Like I saw a dude the other day not wearing a shirt. I've talked about this on the podcast before. But I saw a dude in my hometown who did this and a dude in the city who did this. Same night I saw a dude, as the guy saying this to me, "I'll break your neck." I saw a dude ripped with no shirt on going for a run. And I thought to myself, I'm going to beat him to death. If it was legal, I would break his legs with a steel pipe. I would do it. Because fuck him, dude. Because he's a fucking cunt. Put a shirt on. All right? You're just trying to show off that you're fucking got a ripped bod. I don't want to see it, dude. And that's another thing, dude. That goes back to my point about women like beautiful dummies, just like men love beautiful dummies. I was with a friend the other day who I said to her, I was talking about that, and she goes, "Yeah, well, but when I see a ripped guy like that, I'm like, thank you." Hey, dude, is that not objectification 101, bro? That's like when some girl was literally talking to me about sexism, and then a guy ran by and she goes, "Oh my God, he's a fucking gazelle." And I was like, didn't you just catcall that motherfucker? The fuck are you talking about, bro? No, dude. I'm not about that life, okay? Do I like a woman topless? Is that a beautiful image to me? Yes. Do I think that should happen in public? No, but not because I don't think women should be topless in public, but because I think people should not be topless in public. Okay? I'm just saying, you often see dudes who are ripped who have their shirts off in the same way you often see women breastfeeding with perfect boobs. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying that you shouldn't be able to have a shirt off, and I'm not saying you shouldn't breastfeed your kid, but I am saying there's a correlation between you're a fucking asshole and you doing that some of the time. And I think if you're breastfeeding your kid because you need to feed the baby, good for you. But I think if you're breastfeeding your kid because you know you got a nice tit and you want the world to see, good for you as well, but also fuck you, dude. I guess my point is every woman seeing that is going, I know what you're doing. Same way when I see a guy ripped with no shirt on, I go, I know what you're fucking doing. Stop doing it. Put a fucking shirt on. And then the other guy who's doing it, I've talked about this on the podcast already, but the other guy who's doing it is the dude who just started running, who thinks he's in shape enough or who wants to be in shape enough to not have a shirt on, but all of us are going, hey man, you're not ready yet, okay? Give it a couple more months, then maybe you can take your shirt off. But even then, don't. Even if you're ripped enough, put a shirt on, dude. But anyway, my point is, I connected with that guy who said, yo, I'm going to break your neck. You understand me, boy? I was like, dude, I do understand you. I feel you, man. I just felt that 2 seconds ago when I wanted to fucking beat that guy to death with a lead pipe, dude. I totally feel you. I'm just not high and strung out enough to be shouting it at the person. Anyway, I hope that guy's okay. I hope you guys enjoyed the pod. I think that's it for this week. I had a wonderful time as always. I don't know if you could still see my face. The camera might went out. But if it didn't go out, or if it did, either way, I love you guys. Have a good one. Thank you for listening. I love you guys, and I'll see you next week.
Jake, you're an idiot. Jake, you don't make any sense. Jake, you're a piece of shit. A piece of shit.